My guest today is a dear friend and someone who I've had the pleasure of knowing for many years. Lynn Joselyn, founder of Integrative Spectrum of Health, is not just a brilliant practitioner, but she's truly someone who had the courage to walk away from a broken system and build a healthcare practice that is so much more human. In this conversation, Lynn opens up about her own health crisis, the quiet courage it took to trust herself, and she reminds us that the wellness industry is designed for scale, full stop.
The wellness industry is a business, period. And you have to be really careful. When somebody's doing a podcast on a disease state or a supplement or an alternative modality, they're talking to the general population. Okay, they might be talking to a certain group of people with a certain illness, but even in that group of people, the diversity and healing modality for each individual is so different. I get a lot of people that bring me, I listen to this podcast, I want to try this supplement, I want to try this. And it's great. I'm open, I'll listen, but I try to tell them that not every supplement is right for you.
Which is why advocating for yourself, especially in your own health journey, is not just important, but it is absolutely essential. If you've ever felt like something was off, like your body was trying to tell you something that no one else could quite hear, this episode is for you. Lynn will remind you to pause, to listen, and most importantly, to trust yourself. So let's get into it. Lynn, I am so honored to have you here. You are a physician assistant, a functional medicine and food and spirit practitioner, and the founder of Integrated Spectrum of Health, which is a very beautiful community-rooted wellness space built on the belief that healing is not a one-size-fits-all. And really what moves me most about your journey is that after over 2 decades in conventional medicine, you had the courage to walk away from what no longer felt true to you. And you're building something more whole, more honest, and might we say a little bit more human. And outside of that, I consider you a beautiful and dear friend of mine. Our families have known each other for, 10 years, I think. Mm-hmm. And recently in my own health journey, I had the chance to explore some holistic wellness with you. And both my husband and I really felt the power of non-traditional, deeply personalized approach. And it's provided insights and support that really standard care never had before. But your path through your own health crisis and into this most recent work has shown that healing doesn't just happen in the clinic. It happens in community, in food, in spirit, and how we choose to live and lead. And you remind me very much that honoring our own rhythm is part of the medicine. So welcome to Redefine Her.
Thank you. I'm super excited to be here, Brenda. And I love your work and what you're doing as well. So I'm glad we get to collide and collaborate.
Thank you. It's awesome. Let's take us way back. So you spent 2 decades inside conventional system of medicine. Tell us a little bit more about that. And really, what were the cracks you started to notice, the moments that made you question if traditional practice as a PA in the rigid environment of Western medicine was truly working for patients?
It really happened probably later in my career. I started out in a pretty big family practice in Colorado Springs, worked there under 6 different physicians, really learned so much, and it was busy and happening. I really loved it. Then we moved to Texas and I got to work in rural health outside of Austin. And that's really honestly where the community seed was planted. I worked at a walk-in clinics. There wasn't a lot around it, so we became primary care for people. And that's where I really just learned to connect with the humans that were there, because I would see the same people back again and again and again. And I really was able to create that relationship. And it was great. It was hard. The holes and cracks that I became aware of at that point was the fact that we were being pushed to see so many people. And we, at first, that it was kind of a crazy shift. We started, shifts were 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, it was ridiculous. I helped open this space. And so we changed it a lot. It was never the same clinic for more than a year. So that tamed down and we realized what worked in that area, but we were still really being pushed. I was getting home. Even when the clinic was closing at 8, I was getting home at 9 or 10, exhausted, strung out, and then would go back and do it again. Part of why I was always running late was because I was trying to connect with the people, but the system didn't set up for that. So I was there about 14 years, and then we moved to Durango, Colorado, and I thought, I want to get my kids settled. I don't want to step right back into primary care. I'm going to do urgent care. Well, that was sort of the end for me. Urgent care is wonderful and we need it. And it was definitely one of the hardest positions I've ever worked because of the push, just massive number of people we were seeing. It's just really depersonalized, and that's not in my nature. And by the end of my work in conventional medicine, I was showing up in ways that was not in alignment with how I wanted to work with people because I was really burnt out.
I recall fairly recently asking you, I was in urgent care myself with my kiddo, and I was like, Lynn, texting you, I need some help. And you're like, oh, I have PTSD.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, my 5 minutes of being in there gave me PTSD as well from the experience, but it is so needed and it is crazy. I mean, I just met with two wonderful people from Syntax Health, and they are really creating a value-based care model to help with contracting so that providers don't get stuck in the just having to do more and less care. There's a lot of potential, I think, out there to change the system, but it is certainly, it's a work in progress, like all things.
Very much so. Yeah. Work in progress.
So when you realized the conventional path in medicine just wasn't enough anymore, what was happening and what did you do? Like, what was that moment when you realized something needed to change?
Well, it was gradual, for one. I was always very interested in non-conventional treatments, basically through my own health. I had years of stomach issues, chronic migraines, just multiple things. And I was going down the pharmaceutical route. Nothing was really working. So I personally began to explore diet, lifestyle, yoga, and I slowly was dropping pharmaceuticals and I was no longer getting migraines and my gut was beginning to heal. It took a long time. And then I was like, I'm not going to treat my family this way. So I began to treat my family with more natural, holistic ways as well. And then thought, well, I'm going to get some more education. First, I did Deanna Minnick's, who's just an amazing mentor of mine, her Food and Spirit program. It's a healing modality looking at 7 systems of health through color. It does align with the chakra energy systems, but it brings color, joy, vibrancy into healing spaces, which is not in our conventional healing spaces. It feels very cold, sort of depersonalized, even just the space you're in.
It's hard to even get personal. You're in your doctor's office for 10 minutes. Any other modality outside of like, let's check these boxes, make sure that we're covering what we need to bill on, it's hard to get past that.
It's hard to get past that. Yes. And on that point, part of what happens for practitioners with burnout is not just that you can't connect with a human in the way you want, but all the mundane tasks that we have to do. Click the buttons, make sure you have everything coded correctly. Almost more of your day is spent on those mundane requirements for billing. And it's soul sucking. It really is the scaffolding. It is not the practitioners. I have dear friends in the conventional spaces and they want to be doing more. But the way things are set up, it is really, really hard.
Oh, yeah. I've spoken to several folks here, Dr. Pediatric Partners and a friend at Mercy as well. And they're doing notes for their patients on their days off. They're committed. They are committed to doing the work, but there's just not enough time in the day for them. Well, you shared with me that you ended up quitting your job really without a plan, which is quite bold. I've been there.
Yes.
It's also terrifying. But ultimately, your heart kept just saying to you, I can't keep doing it this way. So what fears or voices came up for you and really what got you through those?
I was at urgent care and then I did end up, I quit that job and then did some part-time for a family practice in town. And you're right, it just kept gnawing at me and gnawing at me. And I was continuing my study for functional medicine. And I thought, well, when I finish the certification, I'll just open my practice. It'll just happen. Well, I finished my certification, and the fears that came up, there was a lot of fears at that point. Like, well, how do I do it? Do I know enough? Who's going to support me? How do I do this as a PA? And then I actually got to the point where I decided that I was done with medicine altogether. And I felt incredibly fortunate. We were in a situation where I could walk away from my job, and my husband was incredibly supportive, both financially and emotionally, to give me the space to do that. So I actually took at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years, and I was just cleaning and clearing my own stuff. So it was deep work for me. So my fears were, I'm not enough. I don't know enough. Will I be accepted in this new role with my colleagues? How will I fit in this role coming from conventional? So those were the biggest fears.
There's fears in every time you're making a big leap and jumping into the unknown. What tips or what advice would you give people who might be thinking like, oh, I have this passion, I have this interest, this is something I want to do, but all of the fears, all of the worries, the concerns are certainly there. All the self-doubt is certainly there. What would you encourage them to start doing?
Gratitude is huge. Abundance mindset really supported me. All of those fears are when we look through a scarcity mindset, which is cultivated in our society in so many ways. So I would reach out for support, get out of your comfort zone in that, reach out to that person that is doing the thing you want to be doing, and create those connections to learn more. And words of advice, you do have enough right now. That's huge. Specifically in my field, it's always more, more, more. It's like more education, take this class, learn this, learn this. And there's so often where I have to sit back and go, okay, I've been a PA since 1997. I have what it takes to support this human. And being okay saying, I don't know, let me look into that. But you don't have to know everything all the time. You can't.
That's just it for so many people. It's the self-doubt that holds us back, or those limiting beliefs. And mindset is huge with anything. And we can get down a spiral sometimes that sets us off. But again, it's reaching out and asking for help, asking for guidance, advice, talking to the people that have done maybe what you want to do. You just have to be open to listening to it and have the mindset of, I can do this. And I don't need more. I can always get more, but right now I have what I need, and I can walk through this and learn as I go.
So true. And regarding my business mentorship, that was a huge leap of faith. I thought, I don't need a business mentorship. I can't afford it. And I met this woman, Dr. Laura Salyer, who's incredible. And she helps practitioners create out-of-the-box practices. And because her whole mission is creativity to support people with burnout. So she is mostly with practitioners, but she also goes into residencies and medical schools because she wants to change this for all practitioners and healthcare. So we met, and by the end of our 20-minute discovery call, I said, okay, I'm gonna sign up. And because of her and the community that she fosters, I was able to really break through some of my really big fears of, I'm not ready, I can't do this, I need this next course. And I just started boots on the ground.
I love that. I've had some beautiful mentors in my life as well, and owe a lot of my success to having those relationships, because it is really powerful.
It's huge. And she talks a lot about, we talk about our fears. I'm still in a portion of her membership, and look, everybody has those fears. Even the people, we walk around acting like we have it all together and buttoned up, everything. I got it. But I guarantee even that person that you are really aspiring to do similar work, they have those fears and that imposter syndrome. And if we can break that down and be human, it's just a better offering.
I've personally intentionally decided to stop using the term imposter syndrome. I've spoken to so many ladies, and I'll share why. It's a label that a system that was really never designed for women has put upon women. And so we're really not deserving of that title. But our own insecurities and our own self-doubts certainly are true. And especially for women building something new, or maybe having a child, or doing something we've never done before. Of course, we're going to have self-doubts. And it's not just true for women. It is certainly true for men as well. But our system is broken. What has your relationship been like with self-doubt? And what has helped you to meet it with grace? And what have you done to kind of overcome that moment of questioning yourself?
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a very long relationship with self-doubt. And so she shows up frequently, so I get to practice ways that I work through that. It comes up stronger at different times. It's always there. I'm not going to lie. It's always a part of, it was just fostered early. Movement, yoga, nature absolutely bring me back to who I am. And when I'm not doing those things, I get more self-doubt, like the foundational lifestyle factor, sleeping. I've recently been doing some emotional freedom tapping technique with a fantastic practitioner, some one-on-one, to break through some of those old patterns. And that's been amazing, really, in the last month. Well, self-doubt's still there, but she's quieter. So we have to fill our own cup. And I know that feels a little bit like a phrase, but it's so true.
It is so true. Tell me a little bit about tapping, because it's a great modality, a great tool we can use. And when self-doubt creeps in, breath work, tapping, these kind of things can be really powerful. Tell me more about your tapping.
Catherine Samultanos, who's in Durango, she has a practice where she works one-on-one with people, and it's about an hour-long session. I mean, and you can do it on your own too, but it's an hour-long session. And usually I come with, I don't even know what I want to talk about today. And by the end of it, I have moved something in my systems. So the tapping takes you through acceptance. So whatever your issue is or that you want to work on. So we'll say self-doubt. First you accept, I have self-doubt. I may always have self-doubt. And then you move into acceptance. And then you move into being open to the possibility. And then you move into it's already happening. And so you're tapping at different points through all of this. And it's pretty profound. So that's been a good tool for me.
For people who don't know, tapping, literally like tapping on different points of your body.
When you work one-on-one with somebody, you're talking through it. And she's telling you what to say based on your initial debrief that you wanted to bring. She's fantastic. It ends up being through your own words that you've shared with her. And I highly recommend it. You can even just tap your heart when you're feeling anxious. I try to really do a cleansing process before I see patients and after, just so I can be more present. Now, that doesn't always happen, but that's also 30 seconds, which can completely shift the trajectory of how I show up.
So interesting. Our body and our mind has an incredible power when we pay attention to it.
So fascinating. And that's exactly what you said, when you pay attention. I have been in autopilot so much of my life, and it still happens.
Totally. I know. It gets outside of us. You're living proof that integrative approaches to chronic illness work. Can you share what your health crisis looked like and what you discovered on the other side of it?
I shared a little bit, gut issues, migraines, move forward. The most recent, I was recently struggling with mold illness and mycotoxin in our home and got pretty sick with neurological changes, memory issues, tremor. And it was really, really subtle until it wasn't. And we had to make a huge change in our home and mitigate the mold. So I'm still working on that. But I will say on the other side of working to now detox my body, I'm probably 85% there. And it's wonderful. I feel empowered. I feel, because I walked it, when I'm supporting people, that empathy piece really can show up, because I do understand it's tricky. Chronic complex illness, our mind plays tricks on us. We'll deny that we have symptoms. We'll deny that it's real. And in my practice, I'm getting a lot of people who have been to many practitioners, and even just to acknowledge to somebody that your pain's real. This is really happening for you, begins the healing process.
So true. So many women, especially with those with chronic or complex health issues, feel dismissed or unseen in primary care. You can tell many doctors the same challenges that you've had, and it's just the next pharmaceutical that gets prescribed to you and no answers. And you've seen it in your own work, and you've seen it impact you personally. With the mold issue, what would you say to people who might be listening that if this feels like something that is potentially happening, what signs to look for?
So for mold illness, the list of symptoms is very, very long because it can affect all organ systems in the body, comes in through our respiratory tract and then can move around. And then genetics have a play in that as well, as far as how well your body can get rid of it. Certain people have genetics that it's harder to get rid of it, so it builds up in the body. I would recommend finding a practitioner that is well-versed in mold and mycotoxin. I study under about 3 different practitioners who are really fantastic, and they all have websites with practitioners who know mold and mycotoxin. I would also say be gentle. There's a lot of urgency when people have been sick for so long and all of a sudden they're like, oh my gosh, it's the thing, right? I found it. I need to get better. I need to get it out of my body right now. And then there's the overwhelm. It's my home. Like that's where we're supposed to feel safe. And our bodies have felt unsafe before our minds, like our conscious mind. Because the body, our cells, our limbic system is already like, there's an intruder. It's dangerous. But we don't consciously know that yet. So our body's been struggling for so long. Then our conscious knowledge comes up, and then the finances, like, well, I can't move. I can't do that. And it's those barriers are very real. One step at a time. One step. And I've guided people through this. It's a process. There's a lot of ups and downs, and generally say the trajectory of healing is up, but it's not a straight line. It's a zigzag. So there's lots of back and forth.
But listen to that voice inside you. Listen to what's gnawing at you.
Absolutely, because you will come up against people who absolutely do not believe it is real or your symptoms are valid. And you brought this up earlier. As women, we've been dismissed for a long time. I mean, that's just historically. And so, yeah, absolutely listen to what's coming up for you and gnawing, and you are worth it. Find somebody to support you, because I can say you can get to the other side.
Yes, you're 85% of the way there. A lot of women are healers. A lot of practitioners are females, clinicians. It's heavily employed by women, but you don't always feel heard, even by women. And I think sometimes it's just people haven't walked that path. And then we're also inside a system that doesn't always allow space for that full person care.
Absolutely. The burnout rate for physicians and practitioners in conventional medicine, I would say 75 to 80 or higher percent. And look, we're human. Everybody's human. You're not taking time to eat, to get nature, to nourish your body, to sleep because you're charting and thinking and carrying the weight of other people, then you're not going to be able to show up in your best self. And we all have good days and bad days, but that chronicity of dismissing what your body needs is part of the problem.
Definitely. And we both just need to hit pause more often and not do more.
And even I have to be really careful in my practice because I'm super passionate and I get really excited and I have to pull back, really assess the person sitting in front of me. And I often say, what feels good for you? I'm thinking I've got like 5 things in my bucket that I want to work with or offer to you. what feels good. And so sometimes we lay it on the table and they want to do one, and that's great.
Right. Start somewhere.
Start somewhere. And honestly, the power in small changes can make a big difference. It's kind of like that, what's your one leveraging move that you can either start your day with or add to your day that makes everything else fall into place?
Oh man, well, but the 1% changes, right? Like 1% better, 1% every day. Like imagine in a year, that's so much change. And I also love Darren Roberts. He used to be in the NFL, but now he's a motivational speaker. He talks about micro wins. And that to me also goes back to gratitude. And if you acknowledge those micro wins and that daily gratitude, just those little things do add up. They make such a difference on your journey for improvement, for health care, for whatever it might be that you're going through. Those little tidbits of micro wins, of gratitude, of 1% changes every day, it makes a huge difference.
Huge difference. Yeah. And just that perspective, like you can do a micro win every day, but to change your diet, to start exercising, to you sleep better, to all the things in one day, this is set up for failure.
Totally. Totally. And then it's daunting and way overwhelming. So you don't do any of it. So small stuff. So the integrated spectrum of health and your company, it really feels both like a philosophy and a sanctuary. Maybe you agree. What does spectrum mean to you? And how did this vision come to life?
So spectrum is full color. Dr. Deanna Minnick's work and her mentoring through Food and Spirit really brought the rainbow into my life and into my practice, because it isn't just one way or one thing or one drug. It's the full spectrum. And how can we use that to support somebody's healing path? And I'm a guide. Listen, I believe that the human body is so powerful. So what I like to think too is I'm offering a buffet of like rainbow options, and the human sitting in front of me gets to choose, because of my business mentor having a 20-minute discovery call and then literally just starting to build. And she offered a template that she used when she left conventional medicine that supports creating a micro practice. So small practice, membership based, that includes community, high touch. So really being available, and one-on-one visits that aren't short. Yeah, I've gone too long. I mean, there is a sweet spot to that. Empowering the person to know that they have agency in their own health is really huge as well. So yeah, I started with her. And then the next thing you know, I had a website, and then I had my first patient, and then boom, 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 boom. And here we are today.
Off to the races.
Off to the races. I will say that integrated spectrum of health has evolved a lot. And I am a big proponent of feedback. I'm always asking for feedback, and people who share what's not working is so helpful for me, because I can up-level my systems. I'm always trying to offer a better offering so people, so it's easy, and it's not for everyone. That's why we have the full spectrum of practitioners out there. Find your person where you feel safe and heard, and that you have a buy-in agency. Absolutely.
Looking for a different kind of healing? At Integrated Spectrum of Health, Lynn Joselyn blends functional medicine, nutrition, and the healing power of community to support your whole self, body, mind, and spirit. It's not one size fits all. It's personalized, intuitive care that meets you where you're at, because your health journey should be as unique as you are. Learn more at integratedspectrumofhealth.com.
And you mentioned you believe there are so many ways to heal, as many ways to heal as there are people in this world. Mm-hmm. What have you found to be some of the most surprising or beautiful healing tools that you've seen work for others within your practice?
What's coming up for me, and it may not be as specific as you're looking for, but I really think it needs to either begin with or incorporate nervous system support. And our limbic system is deep within our brain, and the only job it has is danger, not danger, danger, not danger. It's surveying right now, even as we're sitting here talking. And when people are in a heightened state, their limbic system is danger, danger, danger. And then you add chronic complex illness onto that. A big part of when I work with people is I want to know who else is on their team. And there's these great limbic system programs out there. There's practitioners that work one-on-one with people to help teach our bodies how to downregulate it. Like you said earlier, how we push pause, but like really push pause so that our cells feel safe as well. The biggest surprise would be working, and this is specific, working with a woman who was detoxing from mold and mycotoxin, very stressful situation with home and where to go. And we had done a lot of different things. I had talked about limbic system retraining, but she just was like, yeah, it felt like an add-on. When she chose into that, within 3 weeks, she came back and she was like a different person. Now, it wasn't automatic, like that she was fixed forever, didn't have to keep doing it. But those tools, she practiced every single day, and they're helping her to get to that next level of healing.
And what is limbic system retraining?
So a couple programs that I use out there, one is called the Gupta program. The other is called Primal Trust. Both those programs I've vetted and really love. They work with you to learn your physiology and the signals that your body is telling you, and then how to quiet the brain, because we get in a fear looping of this limbic system of danger because it's not even conscious. Like,
Sure.
Have you ever met somebody and you just felt you're kind of like not quite safe, but not like, oh my gosh, that person's, really going to harm me, but there's something off? That's your limbic system. It's reading the cues of the face. It's reading energies. The programs are those two programs, and it takes you through mindfulness, meditation, breath work. The other thing that these programs do is so often when people have chronic complex illness, they become their illness. Everything they do all day long is about it. Yes, your symptoms are a part of it, but it helps you shift your brain into, okay, yes, I'm in pain right now, but that sun is absolutely gorgeous and I can feel the grass between my toes. So it's neurology. It's repatterning our neural pathways, really.
Like the holistic approach to it, right? It's not just one thing. It's feet on the ground. It is the sun and the sky. It is what we're eating. It's colors of the rainbow. It is holistic.
It's all of it.
Yes. You talk a lot about the power of community. I know it's a big part of what you do. What does that look like for your practice?
It's my favorite part. I cannot tell a lie. One of the things with the conventional systems is that people feel really isolated in their illness, and it's very lonely. So the way I set it up is I do a group visit every Tuesday at noon, and we start with a little learning presentation, and I bring a snack, and then we just sit and visit. I love to bring other practitioners and guest speakers to take part in this. And it's really wonderful. It's really been interesting to see how they've approached this. I would say maybe 15% of my practice comes, which is great. I want it to be completely for fun and for free. So it's never a have to. But I've definitely had some people that said, yeah, not for me. And they come and they keep coming. Other people are like, no, not for me. And they know that about themselves. So the other piece about that consistent community and weekly group visits is it keeps you in the game. Be like, oh, I signed up for this membership. I'm changing my diet. I'm doing all these things. And if you show up once a week, you're kind of like, oh yeah, I'm doing this thing and I'm going to stay on track. Yeah, it's fun. I absolutely love it. That is one place I had to really let go because I do a presentation, almost every week. And at first everything had to be perfect and, all the things. Now I'm just, here it is. And it's more of I facilitate the conversation in the room.
Yes. Well, and I've had the chance to go to a few of them and they are beautiful. My husband has loved them, and it is community, and it's just so special because I think, as you mentioned, like we do isolate ourselves, and so much of wellness is still pretty individual focused. And I think you are being very intentional into bringing personal healing, bringing community into personal healing. And it's quite powerful. Then you're not so alone either in your journey.
It's wonderful. And I think it does support people. And I will say, my first year of practice, it was basically me. I mean, I just kept showing up. So it just, if you're listening and you want to do something like this, you just got to keep showing up. It's that important.
Most definitely. It's micro wins. It's that building something different, building an alternative approach. It is step by step, one foot in front of the other, keep going. What does it mean for you to not settle for status quo? And what keeps you grounded when it gets hard, when it gets really challenging, or when you're questioning that self-doubt, or mainstream approaches haven't worked and you have to kind of push against it? And maybe you have an example of a client who's like, well, mainstream approach might work better for me. And you want to really go against that because you know it's the right thing for them. What do you do?
Well, in that instance, if I have somebody, I'm pretty open because I did conventional. So I have that language and I understand it. And so that's okay. Great. You know, that as long as you're guided by somebody in the conventional setting, I'm really big on informed consent. Let's just make sure you have all the information and then you can take it and figure out what is going to be best for you. So that's how I meet that. I definitely have people at all different stages. Some people that just come and they're just like, I just want, tweak on lifestyle stuff, but I've got my doctor over here and everything's good. Awesome. Sometimes with working through the lifestyle stuff, by the end of it, they're feeling so well and their blood pressure has dropped and naturally they may not need those meds. It is a challenge to come up against conventional practitioners who question what I'm doing or why would I do that. That's probably something that really gets my feathers ruffled, but only because of the self-doubt, right? Like, well, maybe, I don't know. So I just have to go back to my practices, go back to my why, go back to the person in front of me. And sometimes I ask them.
Sure. You're like the most joyful person I know.
So sweet. Oh.
It's so true, though. I can imagine your feathers getting ruffled because we all get our feathers ruffled. But I imagine you approach it with such grace because I know your heart is in it for the best interests of your patients.
Yeah. And look, we all just need to be a team. There's room for everybody. I want more collaboration with other practitioners.
You want to know who their care team is.
Yes, absolutely. And one other thing, if I've got a very, very complex patient in front of me that I'm like, I'm not sure what to do. I have really amazing mentors and I'm teachers that I reach out to. And I have a small group of myself and 2 other PAs who are doing similar practices. And we talk almost every day. So we are constantly bumping stuff off each other and we all have kind of a different niche. So we know who to call for, this thing or the other. So that has been invaluable.
That's like a wonderful approach. I spoke to someone just recently about asking for ideas because we don't know everything. We can't possibly know everything. And so I don't even think that's being vulnerable. Asking for help is just asking for help and getting a new perspective. Sometimes your eyes are so narrowed on one thing that having an outside opinion might really open the doors to different options for solutions for a patient.
So true. So true. Yeah. My team that, is around me is amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Are you a woman leader, CEO, or hiring executive looking to build a powerhouse team? At EDM Talent, we specialize in connecting top-tier talent with companies that are redefining the future. Whether you're scaling a startup, diversifying your leadership team, or searching for mission-driven professionals who align with your vision, we've got you covered. With a people-first approach, we help you hire exceptional talent who not only meet the job description, but elevate your organization. Let's build something incredible together. EDM Talent, where great companies meet great people. Let's talk. Visit edmtalent.com today.
So what would you say to someone who knows maybe they've been seeing a family practitioner, maybe it's not working for them, maybe they're a little nervous to try something different, but what they're currently doing isn't working? What would you suggest?
Explore practitioners in your area. Ask them to identify what it is that they're not receiving from that practitioner, and to remember that that practitioner, it's not necessarily either or. It can be both. And most practitioners will do like a discovery call or a meet and greet if you're interested. And I would say take the leap. You're worth it. You know, even if you have a couple visits and you're like, this is not a good fit, you can always switch gears. But yeah, and also ask yourself what's holding you back. Why wouldn't you want the best for yourself if you're not getting your answers?
Sure. And for your practice, what does your ideal clientele look like?
Somebody who desires change, who's open to doing the work. This practice is definitely not me handing you a pill for every ill. And so it's curiosity, motivation, and a desire to be part of your healing journey. You know, our medical system, we're taught to be the authority, the knower, and that's not true. Yes, we have information that we can share with you because of our education, but you're the one that gets to make the choice in that moment. So curious, motivated, and a desire.
I don't know if I could have said that about myself when I started to seek out your help. I think my situation was, I've got this chronic pain. I am frustrated. Healthcare is, insurance is crazy, all of these things. And so many people navigate overwhelm with healthcare. Various diets, supplements, which supplements are a big challenge for me. One, to take them. Two, to take so many. And three, like, it's so frustrating. Why aren't we getting this in the food that we eat? But we're also seeing products, solutions that are designed for male physiology. And social media really has a huge bombardment of the next best solution that really is not steeped in actual science. What do you say to someone who's feeling lost in all that noise?
The wellness industry is a business, period. And you have to be really careful when somebody's doing a podcast on a disease state or a supplement or an alternative modality. They're talking to the general population. Okay, they might be talking to a certain group of people with a certain illness, but even in that group of people, the diversity and healing modality for each individual is so different. I get a lot of people that bring me, I listen to this podcast. I want to try this supplement. I want to try this. And it's great. I'm open. I'll listen, but I try to tell them that not every supplement is right for you. So it's really looking at lab data, looking at physiology to really support why are we taking this? You know, I frequently get people as new patients who bring like a bucket of supplements. And our whole job in the first 3 visits is how can we decrease these? One of my favorite teachers says, somebody brings that in, you ask them, they're going to be on a desert island for 2 weeks. What 5 supplements can they not do without? And they're like, but that helps us. And sometimes then we start there, take everything out but this, because you don't even know what's working. What to say to people in that, listen to yourself, get somebody on your team to help you sort through it.
Yes. And baby steps with it all.
Baby steps.
Yeah.
And there really is not a quick fix. I mean, healing can be quick, but that's more of at an energetic level. I don't think there's a modality out there that is the quick fix.
Combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Most definitely. And community and family and really you're leaning into yourself and trusting your instincts if something isn't right.
Absolutely. And pushing pause. Let's go back to that.
So true.
Doing less is often what you need to be doing.
Yes. Preach. Too
Absolutely.
As a mom of two powerful daughters and someone who's built something completely your own, how has motherhood shaped what you're willing to say yes to? And also what you've had to release or let that shit go?
Oh. Well, motherhood, first of all, is my first love for sure. It brings tears just thinking about my babes and just that journey. How has motherhood helped me with boundaries? It's an ongoing process. Yes. It gives perspective. I've got young adult children now, and they're in their early 20s figuring it out. So seeing where they are now gives me perspective of the stuff is so big for them and they're trying to make these decisions and it feels like so the end of the world if I don't know what I'm going to do with my life. And then being where I am sort of second career and shifting, like it can always change.
Everything for them is so big and it is so real and so right now. And one thing I note for myself pretty regularly is my son is his own human. He's not me. He's not his dad. He is himself, 1,000%. And sometimes some of those pieces are like, oh my gosh, can you please reel that in? I don't know that I like that, but it's also his journey and I'm there to support it and make things not so big when they don't have to be, but also acknowledge that's okay. Those are big feelings and you're having them and everything gets better.
And right. And I even remember that it did. It felt so big, but now we have life experience to know that, and it still feels big at times, but I probably my biggest teachers in life and continue to be just help me try to be a better person.
Man, but sometimes it's so humbling, like,
Humbling. Oh my gosh. We are not given an instruction manual. No.
No, not at all. What would you say to other women wondering if it's possible to do all the things, build a business, raise children, create something special while holding all of the roles that we carry and.
I definitely regret's a strong word, but I pushed really hard. And I guess I would say soften. There's time for all of it, but the time when they're little is precious and it's short. And let the small let shit go. Like it's okay because most people that are really motivated to do a lot of things can do it all. That's not their stretch. Their stretch is more to do less. That's where it's harder. Yeah, play more, laugh more, all the things. And then craft what works for you. Regardless of your industry, you can create something that works for you and your life. And it's more of a work-life integration than it is a work-life balance in my eyes.
I really appreciate how you put that because it's integrating and making it all work. We can have it all if that's what we want. It is integrating it into finding how do you support all of those pieces and be present for all of those pieces and what can be just, I don't need to do that today.
Absolutely. And have that grace. And then what are your practices that sustain you?
Yes. And yours, you mentioned yoga, movement, and nature. What is your spiritual and yoga practice like?
Yoga's definitely, I would say, been the one thing that has helped me heal physically, spiritually, and mentally out of anything I've done. My current practice is getting back in the groove. Yoga has ebbed and flowed for me throughout the years, but it's the one thing I know I can always go back to. My current practice is just laying out my mat at home and beginning to dive in. I do hold very sacred an annual yoga retreat that I go every year. And this was gifted to me by my husband when my girls were very young. And I can't say I've gone every single year when they were little, but we did really prioritize this. And it is 1 week where I completely unplug and it's a similar group of women. It's the same as my first yoga teacher, but it's always a different group. And it's it's all women. So one of the most beautiful things I think about it is there is zero pressure. So some years I go and I'm just like, I need to stay in my room and write and sleep and like stare at the wall. In other years, I'm like, I want to do all the social things that I want to be with everybody. But regardless of what you choose, there's never any pressure. You don't feel it.
Yeah.
Somebody may say, gosh, I miss seeing you, but you don't feel like "Ugh, you weren't at dinner."
It's a huge
I know
difference.
that sounds silly, but in
No.
our lives,
Yes.
those sort of subtle, unspoken pressures are really big.
Man, and I mean, again, we're human and we take all of those things on.
Yes.
And we can personalize them. So I love that you do that for yourself. And that's coming up, isn't it?
It is, yes. 2 week, third week in April.
So exciting. So exciting. If you could sit down with a woman at the edge of a big life or a big health decision, what's one truth you would want her to hear or to take away from your story?
Trust yourself. There was a kind of a common theme growing up where it wasn't really seen and heard. So then things got bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm.
But once I got old enough to listen, I was able to shift that. But the trusting myself is still a process. If you have a symptom, it is nothing more than your body telling you something. So the more you cover it up, because of all the things, time, not worthy, all the limiting beliefs, that symptom will get louder and louder and louder, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there's a fantastic book called The Body Keeps the Score. And it does.
I'm reading that on Audible right now.
Yeah.
Or it's reading to me.
It's powerful. There's really so much more than our physical health. It's usually that person that we do all the physical stuff, they are hitting barriers, they go work with an energy healer, a body worker, or they have some experience in nature that breaks through for them, or trauma therapy.
So true. It takes us like full circle to the full color and eating the rainbow, our auras. We live in color and we are color, and all this energy within us, it is there and it is radiant, and we all vibrate at these different levels. And if those are suppressed in some way, it's going to show up in other ways.
So perfectly put. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes.
Different illnesses have different vibratory frequencies as well. So it's interesting. You can work with frequencies and do sound healing and things like that to heal. Because if your frequency is going up, that illness can't survive. I mean, there's a lot of things, but it's phenomenal.
And fascinating. I mean, our bodies are miraculous.
Yeah, it's miraculous that we walk around, that we're sitting here talking. Like, that's so cool. Yeah.
It is so cool. It is so cool. Your journey in healthcare, integrated spectrum of health, is still fairly new, just a couple of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you had a looking glass to tell you what it would look like in 5 years, what do you hope integrated spectrum of health achieved for community health, and more specifically for women's health?
I would like to grow the community piece. I have a membership. I'd like to expand and do more all-inclusive, like anybody can come, not just members. And for women's health, I want integrated spectrum of health to be a safe space to come, to be heard, and to be in collaboration on your health journey and whatever challenges you're struggling with. If this isn't the right place, let me help find you where it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Resources galore, right?
Yes.
Yes. And in our own community, but on the bigger picture too, there are a lot of practitioners out there who just want to help and want to be of service.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. And I would love to figure out a way to be, and I'm working on it, more accessible because of the cost of functional medicine and alternative. I currently do have some scholarship memberships as well as an inclusivity offering for BIPOC and transgender. So that's always available when people come into my practice.
Oh, that is beautiful.
It's important. It's hard to figure that piece out.
Definitely. Before we come from such a place of privilege, and a lot of folks don't have that. And in my work, it's a lot around clients who are trying to build products that create more accessibility or create more opportunity or raise the voices or whatever it might be. I'm so grateful to be doing the work that I do as well. And with RedefineHER, getting to elevate voices even like yours. And this has been a really wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for joining me, Lynn.
Yeah, Brenda, it's so good to see you. And I love what you're doing. I love your podcast work. And yeah, more. Well, not more, don't do more. Just find that.
Pause in the middle. Pause in the messy, right?
Pause in the messy. It's messy.
It totally. Some days more so than others. But beautiful all the same.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a real pleasure to chat and share a little bit of my story. It makes me really reflect and have a ton of gratitude and be grateful for, it's the journey.
Well, I am glad you've been part of my journey as well. So thank you. And thank you for being here.
Yes, absolutely.
What a gift this conversation with Lynn was. Her story reminds us that wellness is a journey, not a checklist, not a prescription, but a path, a deeply personal path that unfolds uniquely for each and every one of us. It's rarely linear. Sometimes it's quiet, and other times it's quite disruptive. But always, it asks us to pay close attention. And while it's deeply personal, it doesn't have to be walked alone. Whether through integrative medicine, functional approaches, or simply gathering in a room once a week with others who get it, healing in community is a powerful thing. And it is a blessing to have a team of providers working with you in collaboration. So wherever you may be on your own spectrum of health, may you find the courage to slow down and to trust your instincts and know that you are worth healing. You are worth it. Huge thanks to Lynn for sharing her story so fully, and to you for listening. Until next time, keep redefining what's possible for your body, your spirit, and your life. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to subscribe here or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. And be sure to share, like, and leave a review. Together, let's continue to redefine what's possible in women's health and wellness. Until next time, stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep redefining her. This episode of Redefine Her is produced by Taryn Long and Brenda Armstrong and proudly sponsored by Idiom Talent Partners, experts in search and placement services for health tech and femtech companies focused on building dynamic, inclusive teams. Learn more at idiomtalent.com.